I was gonna make a funny skit for the beginning of this video, but on my way here to initially film the video, I struck a deer. So now the front of this car is all stitched together with zip ties and such. Luckily, the Jeep30 survived. They survived perfectly intact despite getting thrown across the back seat of the car at 30 miles an hour. They are completely unharmed. What has been harmed is a radiator and this license plate, which is the second time a Southern Pacific license plate has been maimed on the front of this car. So that's your skit. It's my pain and suffering. On with the video. Welcome everyone. Today we are going to be taking a look at the brand new run of GP30s from Scaletrains. These GP30s are mostly made up of rebuilds from many engines later in their lives. And for this third run of Scaletrains GP30s, they included Chessie GP30Ms, later went to CSX, most notably the BN GP39Es, and then also the GP30Us. Santa Fe had 85 of their own GP30s, and 80 of which were rebuilt at the Cleburne, Texas shops into GP30Us, the U standing for upgraded. Among other things, they were mostly standardized to have 645 power assemblies, and most notably, the iconic GP30 front windshield, which is usually angled, was straight lined, presumably to standardize glass sizes on the front. The units also received standardized antennas and antenna planes, and later on into the 90s, nose-mounted headlights. GP30 joined the Santa Fe in the 80s in the form of Toledo, Peoria, and Western number 700, which would go on to also be rebuilt and become GP30u number 2785, which Scaletrains has also made in this run. Now I got three GP30s here from Scaletrains. These include the 2747, which I have already unboxed and I have on display right here. I also have the 2772 and the 2777. Of these, Scaletrains did two faded paint GP30s in the form of the 2777 and the X TP&W number 2785. I already have the 2747 unboxed, and it is completely flawless out of the box. No missing parts. From what I could tell, the handrails are perfectly fine and straight. Let's get into opening up some of the other ones here. So let's open up the 2777 first, get a good look at the faded paint GP30s. And in the box, of course, you got the foam lid and some literature, which comes right on top of the box. It has all your DCC and info and stuff in there. And right on to the main event. Pretty standard packaging, par for the course, unless you're Broadway limited. Oh yeah. And there we go. Has your truck clips in the box, gotta take them off. And there we go. What an absolute beauty of a model right there. I absolutely love that they're doing the different faded paint variations, sort of like an Athearn Prime for Grime, if you will. And then we'll go on to quickly unboxing the last one here. Very much like the other two. And there we go. More truck clips. Take them off. Oh yeah. That is fantabulous. Just absolutely marvelous. Also no missing parts. I think we're 3 for 3 here. This is just fantably-do-tastic. Out of all these GP30s here, the only real problem I found was on this 2777 here. Has sort of a bent out of shape handrail. You can kind of see, let's see here. It's sort of bent at a weird angle. You can kind of see how it's a little misshapen, but I'm sure with a bit of finessing here, it would be perfectly fine. But the other GP30s here are just absolutely spectacular. Detail is impeccable. Paint is really crisp and clear. Awesome lettering. I'm really glad they finally did these. These were the GP30s I was waiting for. Initially, when I ordered these GP30s, I was planning on getting just 2 of the Santa Fe ones and then getting one BN GP39e. But then I quickly determined that I don't know a single person who would model Burlington Northern. But regardless, I'm kind of glad I got 3. I was anticipating that these might become hard to find in the future, but we'll just have to wait and see, because I imagine a lot of people would probably want these for BNSF patches, or these are fairly modern GP30s, and they would work for just about anybody. There's legions of these things at Larry's Truck Electric in Ohio, and I remember seeing a lot of these when they first came in, along with a lot of GP35s. Let's head upstairs to the workbench and we'll look over just some wheel gauge and coupler height stuff like that. My little test track here, if we take a gander at that coupler height, it appears that the Scaletrains coupler is, I'd say that's pretty spot on, maybe just a tad high. And rear of the engine is, it's almost there, also probably just a tad high. 772, I'd say, is that correct height? And rear end is a bit low there. And finally we got 2777 here. Front end is good, maybe just a tad. And long hood end, also pretty good right there. The thing about these Scaletrains couplers is that they tend to, in my experience, vary in quality and could always be either too high, too low, somewhere in the middle, but not just quite there. And I don't know, I prefer the KD number 5s myself. Since we've got the 2777 out here, let's take a bit of a closer look at them fine details there. The front end of the engine has varied colors of yellow, depending on where the old paint meets new paint. New paint, especially around the headlight area and the class lights, appears to be a different colored front door. And up top there, the headlight and the air conditioner all be brighter shades of yellow, in stark comparison to the very faded original paint on this engine. And you can see we got a rather unusual looking bright strip of yellow on the rear half of the frame here. Excellent jumping off point for some spectacular weathering. 2747 here, you can just see those painted wheel sets on the side of these engines. And I'd say it's a more positive change, though I still don't like the wheel color. It's a bit too bright of a color for my taste. If you look on the side of the frame here on 2747, it's the same case with 2772. You can see the little yellow reflective squares along the frame. And all 3 of these engines have American flags on the sides of the battery boxes there. Of course, looking at the roof of the engine, you can see the horn mounted off to the side, as well as the 2 antenna planes for your EOT and radio, and that air conditioner right smack dab in the middle. And we got some spectacular looking see-through fans and exhaust stack here on the roof. So overall here we just have an absolute flawless trio of GP30s here. Absolute killer quality from Scaletrains. No broken, missing parts. Misshapen handrail on that 2777, but nothing super disappointing or deal-breaking in my opinion. Now let's take these on down to the club layout, take them out for a spin, check out some of them sounds. F9 is drive hold, so once you activate F9, you can have the locomotive move very slowly and crank the throttle all the way up to listen to it go all the way to Mach 8. Or you can have the locomotive moving at a decent clip, have it set to 0 so it's an idle. F10 is independent brakes, so when you hit them, you can not move the speed dial at all. You hit F10, the brakes activate, and then you can just hit the button again to release them, and the locomotive will keep moving at the speed you have it set at. F24 centers the reverser, so locomotive now will not move if you accidentally hit the throttle knob. If you deactivate F24, then the locomotive will respond to whatever you set it. Since we have it set up already, we turn the lights off. Here's a better look at the lights in the dark. As you can see, we have very brightly lit up ground light there, as well as the headlight and number boards. There's no other fancy lighting features on this engine, and F5, 6, and 7 are actually not used for this engine, since there are no other auxiliary light functions such as ditch lights or class lights. You can also see on the rear of the engine there's a rather brightly lit step light there on the long hood, as well as on the rear. Underneath the rear headlight, there's a small one there as well. Alright, thanks for watching the video, guys. We're going to close it out watching the GP30s in action, as always. Super fantastic models. I look forward to more coming here soon from Scaletrains.